We'll start with the end of the Will Wade era in Baton Rouge. The cloud of doubt that had circled this program for a very, very long time finally let the skies open up, and the notice of allegations arrived. And 2 days later, LSU's administration, William Tate and Scott Woodward, made the decision to move on from Will Wade based on the findings of the NCAA investigation into the men's basketball program and additionally the football program as well. I've got a lot of thoughts on this. We will talk about it for the majority of the 2-hour show today, I would imagine. Coming up in the next segment, we will open the phone lines for about 45 minutes. If you've got thoughts on this, got a comment or question, talking point, whatever it may be, or just want to get something off your chest, 499-1045 is the phone number. We will start taking those calls here after the first segment. But Jeremy, I'll start with you. Your thoughts as you heard that news and kind of as we've had 2 days to process it.
Yeah, I'm still shocked by it. I know probably for some people they're not going to be shocked by it, but I was. I think for me, LSU, kind of knowing everything that's been on the tapes, everything that's been reported, everything that kind of was just public knowledge to this point, and them holding on to Coach Wade and giving him an opportunity to coach his basketball team year in and year out. I thought maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought, but I guess with this new report that's coming out, maybe there's some things in there that we don't know about, because for them to let him go at this point right before the NCAA tournament, it's tough, man. It couldn't be a worse time. And I think for this program, just really getting this program to the level that it is, all the things he's done in recruiting, getting this basketball team competitive, now kind of all that stuff can be out the window, man. You got to see guys hitting the transfer portal. You got to see recruits decommitting. Kind of all the things we kind of just saw with football. I think you're going to see all those things with this basketball program, and it really stinks because you really felt like this team was on the verge, especially just how this team's kind of played all season, and then going into next year and the years following with the recruiting that Coach Wade's done. This program was in a great spot. Now all that stuff can kind of be thrown out the window. You're going to have to find a new head ball coach. And who knows who that guy's going to be. I think that's why I was coming into the day like, man, like football, you kind of, it's LSU football. So you figure you're going to get a big quality name guy. Basketball, I don't know if you can say that. So very tough time for the program. Just wish Coach Wade the best. I think he did a phenomenal job as a basketball coach here, but definitely a decision that shocked me.
So there's so many layers to this, and there's so many angles to go at it, and the timeline. You could really start anywhere. I was really surprised that it happened on Saturday. I say that because when the notice of allegations was brought forward and we knew that LSU had received it, at that point we have no idea what's in it. It's understood that you have time to process things and to basically saddle up and get ready to defend yourself. And at that point, I thought, well, that's going to take a few weeks. At least LSU will be able to run this thing out. And that's why I said last week when the notice of allegation showed up, I said, well, at least we know, okay, LSU's hand isn't really forced here. They can run this thing out and then figure it out after that. And they did. They got the notice of allegations and decided that this was the time to do it. I have my thoughts on why they did that. And that's an opinion, and we'll get to it here shortly. But the fact of the matter is that they did. The reason why the local media has been, and I put myself in that even though everyone is well aware where my allegiances stand, have been dismissive of some of the elements of this case and have really thought maybe that Will Wade could survive this, which it turned out he didn't, is because of the precedent that's been set in this FBI case that the NCAA has had a real difficult time sinking its fangs into programs. And so it was reasonable to think that LSU may be in that number. Turns out they were not. So I can't tell you that I have all the information possible. I've got the notice of allegations, and I've got the result of LSU getting the notice of allegations, which is Will Wade being fired. What I can tell you is that I believe this to be the case. This I don't know. I believe this to be the case, that Scott Woodward and William Tate got that notice of allegations and thought, man, what's the best thing for us to do for the entirety of this athletic program, partly the men's basketball program, but certainly the football program? We think the best way to get around these, to lessen the blow here, is not to saddle up and fight this. It's to cut bait with Will Wade and lay down. That's what I believe is the case. The results would back that up. Again, I don't know everything they know, and I certainly don't know what the discussions were like between them and Will Wade. What I can tell you also is that they were just waiting for this notification so they could fire him for cause. For the people who are saying, you could have fired him years ago, you could have fired him months ago, you could have fired him a long time ago. Yeah, but then you owe him something. And now with the notice of allegations, because in the contract it says if there are level 1 or level 2 allegations, you can fire him for cause. Now they had that in their back pocket and they could fire him and walk out the door scot-free. I wish they would have let him coach out this team. I do not believe under any circumstances, this is a belief, not a fact, I do not believe the NCAA will lessen its punishments because Will Wade was let go before the NCAA tournament. I think believing the NCAA will side with you because you self-penalize is proven to be incorrect. Ask Missouri about it. Missouri self-reported their violations in 3 sports. All 3 sports got postseason bans. They got 5% scholarship reduction. They got recruiting restrictions. They got a fine. They got hammered for self-reporting and cooperating. We've seen schools like Kansas. First of all, LSU's notice of allegations had 8 level 1s. 7 level 1s were tied to men's basketball. 5 of those directly implicated Will Wade. There were 2 level 2s and a level 3. But there were 8 level 1s, 7 to LSU basketball. Kansas had 5 level 1 violations for basketball, and Bill Stuff is still there because they didn't cooperate. Auburn got at least 1 level 1. They held their notice of allegations for 2 years and didn't release it. Chuck Person got a show cause in 10 years, but Bruce Pearl just got suspended for 2 games, and he's still there, and they're a potential favorite to win the NCAA tournament. North Carolina didn't cooperate, and then finally when they got their NOA, they said, well, this actually wasn't just a basketball thing that we were taking a class that didn't exist, where all you had to do was write a paper at the end of the semester and you got a pass grade. The whole university was doing it. It's not a basketball thing, university thing. The NCAA bought it, and Roy Williams is still there. Yeah. LSU decided, we're not going to fight this. It's not worth it. We think it is best to move on. And that reason right there is why we all thought there was a chance that he would make it out. What damned him was the fact that he was way too involved. If the allegations are correct, and I don't have any reason to believe that the stuff they got in there is made up, but if the allegations are correct, and he's sending text message to a former player's fiance, and there are bank account withdrawals and transfers from his wife's and mother's checking accounts to players and players' fiancés, and he's obviously on the phone in that FBI investigation on a tapped phone line, he was doing way too much, and he was not going to survive it once they got a hold of that. Now, it appears some third parties were there after that were offering information, and it's basically blackmail from a player's fiance. But Will Wade was too involved, if this stuff is true, and he wasn't going to make it out. And I got a lot of pushback with my tweet on Saturday, which was, as I put in the tweet, was spur of the moment, and I needed time to react, and I hadn't seen the NOA at that point. But I was bitterly disappointed and thought that LSU got unlucky. And I say unlucky because of this. If this is just the NCAA, Will Wade's probably not in hot water. Because the FBI got involved in a college basketball bribery scheme and tapped phone lines that Will Wade happened to show up on. That was unlucky.
Yeah.
And now you finally had it come to fruition 4 years later, and it's the end of the story. And it makes me so sad as an LSU basketball fan. And we can get into reasons of why as we move forward in this hour. But there's so many ways to go at that, but that's kind of my 30,000-foot view from the top. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think especially with being a guy that Scott Woodward didn't hire, I don't think you would see the extra loyalty that you would probably see in a situation like that. I think with this, you knew that hammer was coming down, how severe it would be. I don't think anyone knows that but the NCAA. Just too many inconsistencies with them. Some schools they'll slam the hammer down hard on. Some schools they won't. So I think for this situation, especially how long it took, You were, you had to, I think for me, that's why I'm so shocked. I was like, okay, it can't be that serious if they're taking all this time. It's not like they're finding some newfound information that they have on Coach Wade or some stuff. The FBI is going to do a good job no matter what. So I thought all that stuff that they already had. So them going that direction, I think right now, with the NCAA tournament being right around the corner, it's tough, man. It's tough. I was not expecting it at all. But I think that's, it's obviously, like you said, all those level 1 and level 2 violations. You knew something was going to have to happen at some point. I just didn't think it would be right now.
Yeah, and I think as I've taken 2 days to digest this, I really needed it, to be quite honest. And look, I am not going to sit here and act like I'm some sort of unbiased journalist who's coming at I'm an LSU alum who's been a diehard fan my entire life, and I love the basketball team winning games. This hurt so bad on Saturday because I understand what's coming on the other side of this, and it's going to be awful. But as I've taken my 2 days now to go over the NOA and understand the situation, Will Wade was going to get fired with this information. There are those of you out there that will say deny, deny, deny. It works for everybody else. This is too much. He was too involved. Kansas pinned everything on Adidas, and Bill Self skated. North Carolina pinned everything on the university as opposed to the basketball program, and Roy Williams skated. Auburn essentially had Chuck Person in the middle of it. He got a 10-year show cause and was prosecuted legally. And Bruce Pearl just denied, and he wasn't implicated. Will Wade was in the middle of this thing. He was going to get fired. My small issue is that I wish they would have let him, for the student athletes and really for the fan base as well, coach this NCAA tournament out, because I don't believe the NCAA is going to look at that decision to let him go on the spot and not coach the NCAA tournament and say, oh, yeah, you did fire him. We'll take a couple of these penalties back. I think that the worst is coming, and it's coming head on. You might as well have let him do that. It doesn't matter. It's not that big a deal. I don't think this team's winning a national championship anyway. So whatever. I was so mad right out of the gate because of my fanhood and how much I love that basketball program. But at this point, once you read it and you see just how deep into the weeds it appears that he was, and they just didn't feel like there was a reasonable cause to go in there and fight this and dispute the allegations. I've had a couple of brief conversations, certainly not with Will Wade, not with anybody in the middle of this thing. But I have had a couple of discussions with people who have heard that there were some people that thought that they could contest some of this stuff. And maybe LSU will contest some of it moving forward. We'll see. But they just didn't feel like this was a fight that they could put up like the other teams have done, and they thought it was best to move on.
Thanks so much for watching Hunt Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. We'll see you next time.